Good evening, folks, and welcome to a very important edition of Life in the Mix in the White Asylum. We're not just lifting the veil as we did last week, we're going to rip it off now. Full revelation. I mean, I've built up to this for years. There's been certain points that I've put out there and you've all gone, "Not evidence that." Well, we're going to evidence it all tonight. There's going to be nothing else to see after this. You're going to know it all. You're going to know everything you need to know about what's gone on, what is happening, and what they're doing with your estate. But, what can I say? The best thing to do is just get straight into it because there's loads. There's loads to play at, and there's just too much data to perhaps cover everything, but we can blast through all the evidence that's there to show you exactly what I've been telling you all these time, that there's banking families running the show. They run all the religions. They're not of the religions. They stand above them and they manipulate them and have you all giving you money, giving you energy, to a bank. It's a fucking bank. It's like the Iron Bank on the Game of Thrones, the one that you don't see, but it's there anyway, funding all the fruit bats, funding the billionaire apostles such as Musk and Thiel and Soros and Gates, all these pretenders that are not their own men, they're nothing. They're just front men. Fronts for the banks. And as long as you see them as having power, you dance to their tune. And they're full of shit. Every single one of them. Especially the Mongolian-looking Elon Musk. He is a biggest tosser. And I mean, anybody can take him on and believe that he's some kind of intelligent guy. Serves you right. What can I say? Serves you right. So have a quick look who's in if you want to say you're in, and then we'll get cracking on, because there's just no time for me to chinwag about nonsense in La La Land when we've got some serious stuff to throw out there in the mix. And the thing is, you know, this is the stuff that none of them out there that have got 14 million views, 25 billion subscribers, them that are screaming that they're on your side and they're all about freeing you and being your best mate. Every single one of them is full of shit, because none of them talk about this. None of them. They never will, because they work for it. And they have a king, a new king. And it's not Fat Fingers up there in Scotland. He's just a muppet. No. They have the king of Babylon. And they've just raised him to the top of the tree, Donaldo the trumpet. He is the king of Babylon, but not for very long. And who's going to take his place when they knock him off? Will it be the muskrat? Will it be his son? A baron, by all accounts. Pretending, of course. But the Trump, as you saw last week, is from Norwegian stock, which means Byzantine stock, which means Genghis stock. You know, all them Vikings, so-called, they were all operating for Byzantium, the Varangian Guard. Byzantium there, buffering Europe from everything that were going on in Genghis land, that they're now claiming to have been Tartarian land, and we must all obey it and think it's fantastic and amazing, as they shifted all over to Kazakhstan, as they moved to demolish everything here in the West, by having the banks fight the other bank, wrapped around as they are in a religion that's meaningless today, because none of them serve the Father up there in the heavens. They all serve Shaitan, Iblis, Satan, whatever you want to call it. Every single one of these so-called religions serves Mammon, and we're going to show that. And remember this before we start. You know, the entire Western masses were told what had happened to the Vatican in the 90s by Malachi Martin. He made it very clear that the intermediary between the heavens and man was no longer in Rome. It was no longer headed in the Vatican. Gone. 1990s, people, under that tossbag, Pope John Paul II. So we've been told, we've been warned, people that have hung it on and hung on to it are just stupid. You're stupid. You were told. You can see plain as day that the whole institution has been operating contrary to its ethos, if it ever was an ethos in any form representing the man that it claimed to be based on. However, 1990s, we were told, in a series of books, by a guy who actually advised John Paul II, so he was close to it, he knew what was going on, let it be known, no longer was that place the intermediary between the heavens and man. And it's been so for a very long time. And anybody that didn't see it, that's on you. So, who's here? Mew, hello. Hello, Mew. It is Sunday again. God, comes round quick. Jane says, evening, all evening. Jane, benefactor says, I Sean, the Wise Silent team, excited for your presentation tonight. Wishing you all the best. Looking forward to the valuable insights you share. Evening to you, benefactor. Benefactor says, I hope this shared insight will help the Wise Silent team open their eyes and give it a proper blast. And of course, you've probably gathered by now that benefactor there is one of my closest partners in crime in relation to undermining this illegal trap. So there's benefactor. So he already knows what's coming. So Jerry says, I've shown all the wise ones outpatience. In that outpatience. Yes, evening to you, Jerry. June says, good evening all. Sean and chat, evening June. Jerry says, mew, hello, he's laughing. Slipknot says, alright Sean everyone. Evening Slipknot. Paul says, good evening Sean and fellow inmates. Evening Paul. Lex says, evening Sean everyone at the Great Wise Asylum, hosted by the one and all. Well, thank you very much, sir. In the new blue boss shirt. We've moved out to the white because we're dealing entirely in the bridge between, not quite there, but of course we're there, but we're dealing there in the Admiralty. So we've got the blue. We're on the blue tonight. St. Jimmy's there, he's happy, twinkling on his guitar. John's floating around somewhere, doing his thing. So we're well on tonight. So evening Lex, Paul UI says, evening Paul, evening Paul. AMG says, evening Sean and all our mutants. Evening to you, AMG. Must did a Nazi salute. So they keep saying. But it's actually a Roman gig, isn't it? Hey! All that shit. Although, there were a time when Rome was something pretty decent, I think. When you consider what we're going on to the other side with all them fucking Mongols, them Mongoloids. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather have had Rome than that shit. So we're evening all late again, says David. Well, you're not that late, David, so no problem. And we have passed it on till March before the death sentences are issued. Mew says, David's grief, he's not called the register yet. No, I haven't. You're all right, David. So he's quite right. So we're not going to muck about. I'm not going to go off and talk about La La Land because it's just pointless. We're going to look at La La Land and let's just crack on. So get your beverage, get your feet up, get your smoke out if that's what your tipple is. Get your feet up and listen. Now this is everything you need to know, basically, as to what the fuck has been going on throughout these centuries. What's behind it is King of Babylon, King Cyrus. He's the man. And now you can see why the reformers way back in the Mr. Time said, kiss my ass, we now know what you're up to, what you're doing, what your plan is. Left the gig, unfortunately, not realising that the Rome was actually, at that point, 50-50 Christian Jew, or Babylonian Jew, of course, the pretend ones. And once they separated, the branch that were classed as non-Catholic came to the aid and rescue of the Reformed Massive and ensured it went nowhere. Or at least went in the direction they wanted, which was to create a new empire that didn't look like it was coming out of Rome. That tonight you're going to see, and now that's gone full circle, and it's probably now 90% Babylonian Jew and 10%, well, Babylonian Jew, because if there's 10% left a Catholic, they're not Catholic, they're fucking fruitcakes. They're certainly not Christian. So it's 100% Babylon, and Malachi Martin told you that in the 90s. So you've no excuse, all you super Catholics out there, and I'm a Catholic, that keep praising this fucking bag of shit over there in Italy, called Rome, the Vatican city-state. The Holy fucking See. Admiralty. Yeah, and you're all lost. They've took your estates, the lot. It's in there now, done. National Security Tax 2023 year on Blighty. To keep the mouth shut. Well, we're not going to keep our mouth shut because we haven't took any horse. And we don't give a shit. So, without further ado, let's investigate from this point first. So this is basically, why is that not letting me expand it? Probably because it's, well, you can see, can you see that quite well? Ladies and gentlemen, I'll just, See if we can make it a little bit bigger for you. So, this is the IOR, the Istituto per l'Opera di Religione. We're doing alright until it said di religione. Because there's fucking only religion in this shower of shit is banking and nothing else. This is the uber ultimate Iron Bank, if you've watched Game of Thrones, the Vatican Bank. Okay, this is what it is. So, it says, dear user, we are users, welcome to the website of the Istituto per l'Opera di Religione, or the IOR. That is its tagline, IOR. Okay? So that's what we'll refer to it. Because, of course, my Italian is shit. I'm much better at Chinese. And why is that not going up? Because that's the whole page. Okay. So it says, given its mission, the IOR is different from any other financial services provider. You can bet your bottom dollar it's different. Indeed, the mission of the Institute is to serve the Catholic Church, which is no longer the Catholic Church, only in name. But in using that term, it's telling you that that means the Holy See related entities, such as religious orders, Catholic institutions, the clergy, accredited diplomatic corps, Holy See employees, by holding and administering entrusted assets, that's you and your offspring, and providing dedicated payment services worldwide. So that's SWIFT. The IOR therefore continues its journey as an instrument of the new financial and administrative architecture of the Holy See and the Vatican City State. Okay? Remember, it's a sovereign city, it's a sovereign nation. In fulfilling this noble task, the Holy Father, that means the guy with a hole in his soul, has entrusted to the IOR, the Institute, ensures high quality for the products, that's you, and services provided, guaranteeing in its work full compliance with internal and international standards. But of course, fails to tell you that its internal is the international. They've determined everything. So it's operating according to its own will. Okay? A special attention is paid to regulations concerning the prevention of and fight against money laundering and terrorism financing, which is interesting. Money laundering and terrorism financing. You missed one thing off there, and that's the trafficking of humans, or human trafficking. Okay? I wonder why they've missed that off. Because they don't want you to see the gig. Remembering that the human concept is a concept created by this banking system's catechism, as we looked at before, when it makes it clear that the moment you enter the temple of the Hospitallers, the moment you enter there, your offspring in the womb is already under the wing of the Vatican and has been determined to be a human, and therefore all the rights of person must be shoved all over your little bambino. Okay, that's the human concept. Now, we talked about the catechism as perhaps not being that young, but actually it was created under John Paul II. So it's a new gig, this human concept that they try and present and state that it's been going on forever. The term human is a very new concept, and it's a concept formed by this system in order it can operate in the private as looking after the monsters or the humans, okay? You're not a man anymore. You're a person. Now, you can be a natural person, which we'll look at here, which is exactly what you need to be if you're going to present yourself, your flesh and blood, in the commerce. You've got to stay at the level of natural person, okay? Get that in your mind. It's important. Natural person can only enter on behalf of the legal person into this game of commerce. Very, very important. The Institute is exclusively located in the sovereign territory of the Vatican city-state and is subject to the legislation and regulations in force therein. So, it's its own creature, and it's subject only to its own rules and regulations, which were set up in 1929 by the fascists. Yeah, set up in 1929 by the fascists. Franco, Mussolini. Okay? So that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing specifically with the protocols that we know as fascism, which is, as described by Mussolini, when the corporate merges with the civil state, fascism as a system is in place. That is in, that is on, that is exactly what now they're recouping, or recuperation, that's another word they like to use. And if you're in the music industry, you'll know that word very well. Will you not? But recuperation is the game. So that's home. When you enter that, it says, what is the IR? Well, hang on. What is the IOR? It says. What is the Istituto per le opere di religione? The Istituto per le opere di religione, henceforth the Institute, so it's called the Institute, it's the it's the mental institute, or asylum, or IOR, is an institution of the Holy See, founded by Hierograph of His Holiness Pius XII on the 27th of June 1942. Remembering, ladies and gentlemen, that in 1940, what happened? In 1940, the New World Order was handed to who? The Babylonian Jews. Okay, so 1940 is given to them, and in 1942 they create this. Okay? Its origins date back to the Commission ad de Pias Catholique established by the Supreme Pontiff Leo XIII in 1887. Now, of course, what had happened by 1887? All the Christian monarchies had gone in Europe. The French Revolution, the English Civil War, the American Civil War. Yeah. The Rothschilds had completely took over the English royalty. The British Empire was in the hands of the trustees of this bank, the House Rothschild. That's all they are, the trustees. They're not the power. They're the trustees. They're the legal. They have the legal responsibility for pursuing the rights and intentions of the trust set up by the beneficiaries. The beneficiaries, of course, being the Holy See families, or perhaps even above that, unknown to this day, apart from perhaps insight given to us by Dr. John Coleman. But I couldn't understand what he was saying, so I've been unable to actually present the families that he was speaking about. So a lot had happened. The Jesuits had been reinstalled into the Vatican, and we started to see these mammoth corporations building up on a global scale, coming out of the East India. So the East India started to show itself on the land in the huge corporations such as IT&T, Northrop Grumman, GEC, Boeing, anything that were huge and massive and tied in one way or another to the Rockefellers' empire built on petroleum or oil, started to spider itself out all over the shop, eventually heading up under the Breakspears, Henry Breakspear, in China and including India. So with the new statutes attached to the chirograph of His Holiness Francis, dated 30th of January 2023, the purpose of the Institute has been reiterated and involves providing for the custody and administration of goods transferred or entrusted to the Institute by physical or juridical persons and intended for works of religion or charity. Now, the religion is the Noahide. The charity is the Noahide. What did Francis do in 2023? He instructs the Vatican entities to move all funds to Vatican Bank by September the 30th. Now, on the back of that, the National Securities Act 2023. On the back of that, all your birth certificates, all data referring to your birth or being born are no longer in the place you would expect them to be, your local registry office. There are the assets. However, that's the hidden ledger. That is not the public ledger. That's the hidden ledger that they don't speak about one bit in any of this garbage. This is just a public presentation to make it look like they're only a small entity. So that's what he did in 2023. He ordered that the Holy See and connected entities move all financial assets to the Institute for Works of Religion, the IOR, commonly known as the Vatican Bank. Okay? So that's what he did. We know this. Do we not? We do. History. Key milestones in the IOR's history. 11th February 1887, Pope Leo XIII constitutes a commission of cardinals for charitable causes with an own regulation. So they regulated themselves. 24th of November 1904, Pope Pius X. Interesting, because I always thought he was a good pope. Changes the commission name to Commission of Cardinals for the Works of Religion. 10th of February 1934, so this is 1 year after the bankruptcy declarations and the point at which they put your birth certificate on the stock market, and you then become the backing for or credit for the fiat debt promissory note system. Okay, so 1934, the commission is turned into the Administrative Prelate Commission of the Works of Religion. Okay, so the works of religion have now become about trafficking humans. Okay, that's what it's all about, and robbing them blind by deception. That sounds very much like the antagonist if you studied the works of Scripture. The great deceiver, is he not? The IOR statute can be viewed in the link below. Obviously, I'll put these up under the video later. So this is the public side. They're pretending they only have 1.8 billion, blah, blah, blah. I say it's under management, 3 billion. Yeah. I think what they're talking about is 3 billion persons. Yep. If you look at it like that. But remember, it's the hidden ledger where all the secrecy goes on, where they've raided your estate, took your estate, and are getting ready to shove it into this new trust. The legal framework. The Institute is subject to the laws and regulations of the Holy See and Vatican City State, which is one and the same, as well as to its own statutes. Well, it's all its own statutes. The Vatican legal framework recognises canon law as the primary source of legislation and the primary criterion for its interpretation. Furthermore, there are 6 organic laws and other ordinary laws specific to the Vatican City State. For matters not covered by Vatican laws, the laws and other regulations issued by the Italian Republic are observed as supplementary, subject to prior approval by the competent Vatican authority. They are adopted on the condition that they do not conflict with the doctrine of divine law. Well, which divine law are they talking about? Of course, it's shifted to the Talmud. The general principles of canon law are the provisions of the Lateran Pact and subsequent agreements, and provided that they are applicable to the state of affairs existing in Vatican City, promulgated by Pope Benedict XVI on the 1st of October 2008. According to Article 1.4 of Law Number LXXI, on the sources of law, the legal framework must also conform to the general norms of international law, which of course they've set, on the source of law promulgated, and to those arising from treaties and other agreements to which the Holy See is party. The Institute is subject to Law Number XV111 of 8th of October 2013 that covers norms of transparency, supervision and financial intelligence, as amended by Law Number blah 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 of the 19th of June 2018, and subsequently by law. So of course, I'm going to have to look into these laws again to further just fully understand this system. But this is basically going to give you the overview of everything we need to know, and basically just cementing everything I've presented in these last few years on these live streams that perhaps I didn't put full evidence in. This is it. According to Law Number XV111, the Supervisory and Financial Information Authority, ASIF, has the regulatory responsibility of specifying and providing further implementation regarding prudential supervision. Now that's interesting, because the prudential as an entity is huge and has always held on to everybody's national insurance accounts. So the prudential in and of itself, which I never knew as a youngster, is a Vatican bank operation. And through that, have they managed to secure our national insurance accounts unto itself, as well as AML. To this extent, the ASIF has issued the following regulation. Number 1, on prudential supervision of the entities carrying out financial activities on a professional basis, entered into force on the 13th of January 2015 and subsequently amended by the Board of Directors by the decision of the 19th of September 2018. Regulation 2, establishing the data and information accompanying transfers of funds and the technical requirements for credit transfers and direct debits in euro. Number 3, on payment services provided by entities carrying out financial activities on a professional basis. 4, on due diligence of the customers. So we're customers. You are a customer. This is pretending to be a religion. What deals in customers? Corporations. I saw all this back in the day when the job centre was shifting to Job Centre Plus. And all of a sudden, instead of being a taxpayer, I were a customer. And I kicked off and I made a few recordings and blah, blah, blah. We had some funny games. But that's way back in the midst of time. So customer, C, corporation. And this here is pretending to be a church when in fact it's a bank and you are now a customer. You are a customer. It's got nothing to do with spirituality. It's got nothing to do with Jesus. It's got nothing to do with church. Or it has in the sense church means gathering. But not in the sense that people equate the word church as in some kind of spiritual gig where you go to gain some kind of relaxation and a bit of sensibility to help you through the next week. 5, on suspicious activity reports. Interesting. Suspicious activity. Well, from my studies in all this game, the entire gig is suspicious. In fact, it's more than suspicious. It's in your face. Fraudulent. In addition, the ASIF has issued the following guidelines and circulars. Instruction number 1, which published a list of Irish states with strategic deficiencies in their systems for combating money laundering and the financing of terrorism. Now, interestingly, the Ukraine is still a part of this treaty. There's been more fucking money laundering going on in the Ukraine in the last few years than any other nation outside of Kosovo. Yeah, through the 90s. So already suspicious claims here by the IOR. And for financing of terrorism. Biden, what did he do in Afghanistan? Left billions and billions of dollars worth of hardware. Where did that go? Straight into the hands of terrorism. Have you heard this IOR have a fit? No, you haven't, because they're full of shit, basically. Instruction number 2 concerning the reporting requirements on statistical information on frauds related to means of payment. Instruction number 3 concerning claims procedures to the Supervisory and Financial Information Authority for the resolution of disputes related to the provision of payment services by entities carrying out financial activities on a professional basis. Now remember, they've removed SWIFT from Russia, although they haven't removed everything completely from Russia, just certain things. Hungary is another, which of course Hungary is the only nation in Europe standing up for the Christian white race. And my God, is he getting shafted for it? Because every other nation's got Bolshevik governments in. Even if they're claiming to be right, they're still Bolshevik in their essence. 5, lifters functions that are qualified as politically exposed persons within the Holy See and the Vatican State. Instruction 6 concerning monitoring of the list of designated subjects. I think I have to... preparation of the annual financial statements. So it's responsible for that. Public, of course, not private. Circular interest rates applied by entities carrying out financial activities. So if your interest rates are going up, this bunch has sanctioned it. Yep. Auditing standards for annual financial statements. Well, any council out there knows that they have their own auditors and they're always put up as a great council to hide the skullduggery of the stakeholder committee. So this system, you can see just at this point, is a fraudulent system. It's a deceptive system. And it claims to be acting for the Heavenly Father and his so-called son, Jesus. Well, I don't think so. Lucifer, perhaps. Yeah. Prevention of financial crimes connected to the emergency of the bug. So circular concerning the prevention of financial crimes. So Louise Hilton here in Ironburn demolished so many private enterprise businesses. That's a financial crime connected to the book script. Have you heard them cry about it? No, because she were working for this. You can see, it's just a fraud. The whole game's a fraud. All them people in frocks now running around giving it the big, oh. See them for what they are. See them for what they are. Circuit on the transitory treatment of unrealised gains and losses measured at fair value, recognising other comprehensive income considering the book script gig. So, obviously they made a fortune on the back of that, which actually we all know that that's what it were about. It were a transfer of wealth from one system to another, out of private hands into the corporate hands. So, services. Again, our customers. On behalf of its clients, who's that then? The Institute carries out financial activities authorised by the ASIF and offers the following services: acceptance of deposits, asset management, certain custodial functions. Where are all your birth certificates? In the custody of. Custodial functions, okay? All now being sent to Strasbourg after 2023, which is why they're all pissing around. International payment transfers through correspondent banks and holding salary and pension accounts of employees of the Holy See and Vatican City State, which is every single one of you. Whether your bank's a mosque, whether it's NatWest, whether it's Barclays, JP Morgan, Federal Reserve, Bank of England, Bank of France, etc., 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 you or an employee of the Holy See and Vatican State. Now it's interesting they use the term Holy See and Vatican State because they are one and the same. They are the same entity. No funding activities are carried out on the interbank market, and IOR does not issue, underwrite or place debt securities. No, but it holds them all in custody, and it's an insurance policy that they've set up that underwrites the debt securities, as far as I'm concerned. Accounts opened at the IOR or authorised customers meet the requirements of the legislation in force in Vatican City. State on preventing and combating money laundering and the financing of terrorism, no mention of human trafficking. They're thick, but they're not that thick. Customers are provided with services in IOR offices located in Vatican City State. The Institute has no branches. But it does. Oh, but I beg to differ. Our customers served by the Institute include sovereign institutions of the Holy See and Vatican City State and related entities, nunciatures and apostolic delegations, embassies and diplomats accredited to the Holy See, institutes of consecrated life and societies of apostolic life, dioceses and other Vatican canonical and civil entities as legal persons. Say that again. Dioceses and other Vatican canonical or civil entities as legal persons. That's every single one of you out there running around. Clerics and members of institutes of consecrated life and societies of apostolic life, employees and retirees of the Vatican as natural persons. Okay? Now then, interesting. Remember, the Bill of Rights, everything set up by William and Mary, is afforded to the natural person, not the legal person. So ultimately, you are the flesh and blood, the ultimate credit. If you're entering it as the settler, you're then automatically the natural person. So the natural person is the settler. And of course the beneficiary. Yeah, but as a natural person. The deceased estate is the debt side, and it's holding the legal title and thus is liable for all actions it carries out or fails to carry out. It's very interesting. So natural person is the order of the day. You are not, as it were, a natural person. You are the flesh and blood man, but in commerce you would be coming forward as the natural person. The IOR's customers have a common characteristic, which is that they are part of and serve the Catholic Church. The IOR does not accept as customers individuals or institutions without a close relationship to the Holy See and the Catholic Church. Now, what are they doing with the Church of England? Completely disseminating it, turning it into a secretariat and another branch tied in to the Vatican City State. And it's going to be run by a Secretary of State. So the Church of England, in its entirety, is now acting, and has been, for this. It doesn't mean the clergy were, but then I think they were, and they knew it. Institutes of consecrated life and societies of apostolic life, dioceses and other Vatican canonical and civil entities as legal persons. I've done that on that. Strict control processes are in place to ensure that this rule is adhered to at all times. Most of the IOR's clients are active in missions or perform charitable works at institutions such as schools. So when you're looking at this private-public partnership, yeah, and then I picked up, there's a Recruitment Act. And we're looking specifically for a Recruitment Act that this mentions, but found one for UK that's relative to how the private beneficiaries to the schools recoup money from the UK state, or you, for passing your children around as special needs, when they're naughty they get put into these other schools, when they get put onto medical gigs, again, they're basically just shafting the public purse into the private on that term recuperation. So I wasn't able to find the Recuperation Act that this gig specifically talks about, but I did find one in relation to the recouping of monies relating to schools, hospitals, or refugee camps. So this entire immigration gig. You know, if Muslims think they're not part of this banking system, think again. It's this system because your elites and imams who are part of this system agreed in Kazakhstan, and the reason why your Sharia law doesn't operate in accordance with the Quran, if you had the fucking balls to check, you're all operating outside your claimed religious doctrine, and therefore you are in sin, you are a fucking monster, and you are then subject to the whims and willies of the empire. So all this immigration comes back to this, the banks, as monsters. You are serving this. The Catholic Church, through its institutions involved in missionary activities and charitable work, is present throughout the world, even in countries where basic infrastructure and undeveloped banking and payment systems. In such cases, the IOR services are particularly valuable for customers located in these areas. The IOR is a bedrock affirming itself as a trusted institution able to provide on-site services otherwise lacking or absent. This is even more evident in those geographic areas with high levels of political and or financial instability. As at 31st of December 2023, the IOR's client totaled 12,361. There was a slight decrease due to the ex officio closures carried out by the Institute for different reasons, such as loss of requirements, non-compliance with contractual rules applicable to the accounts, non-use for extended periods of time, and closures by seminarians or clerics who return to their countries. So, when they're saying, yeah, the Catholic churches are empty, which they are, because it doesn't represent religion anymore, that's because they've shifted into something else. They've now shifted into this no-had system as of 1940. Yeah? Measured by assets entrusted IOR clients, well, we've done that. Total client assets managed by the Institute is euros 5.4 billion. That's people. So in the public it looks like, oh, it's 500, that's not that big. But in the hidden ledger, that's 5.4 billion people. Or persons, rather. Yeah? Can you see? 22, 5.2, because they've killed a lot off. Client deposit was euro 1.6 billion people and euro 1.8 billion. Asset under management was euro 3 billion, euro 2.9 billion, and asset under custody was euro 0.8 billion. 2022, euro 0.5 billion. Because they've just slaughtered millions of you with the bug script. Right. Next. Governance. Now then. Look at these little Johnny-come-latelys. Looking like they're all holy and... See, the red represents the root chakra, which is the arsehole. Remember that. So, Chirograph of Holy Father Francis for the new statute of Institutio per le Opere di Religione, January the 30th, 2023. The Commission of Cardinals. President of the Supervisory Commission of Cardinals is Cardinal Christoph Schönborn. Schönborn, that's the Babylonian Jewish name. And German Jewish, of course. Cardinal Luis Antonio Gokim Tagle, Pro-Prefect of the Dicastery for Evangelization. Cardinal Konrad Krajewski, Apostolic Almoner. Cardinal Giuseppe Protocopoli, Archbishop of L'Aquila. Cardinal of Chicherig, Apostolic Nuncio. Prelate Mario Salvatore Rica, Board of... Oh, look, here we look, the Corporate Apostles. We suits on. John Baptiste de Ville de François, President. Javio Marin Romano, George Freiherr von Bosseleger, Francois Pole, Bernard Brennick, Major, and Lord Michael Hintz. Lord Michael Hintz, that's a fucking snotbag here. And the Director General, Gian Franco Mame. There's Lord Michael Hintz, look. A blighty boy, so-called. And Gian Franco Mame. Fucking weird names for weird people. That's all I have to say on the matter. Oh dear heck. So that's your... the governance. So, let's just have a... Who's this fella? Oh, I can't do it on there. So who is Apostolic Nuncio? Chicherig Cardinal Emile Paul. Cardinal Emile Paul Chicherig, former Apostolic Nuncio in Italy and San Marino, was born in Unterem, Switzerland, 47. He received priestly ordination, blah, 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 blah. Diplomatic service, Secretary Apostolic Nuncio, serving in Uganda, South Korea, Mongolia, and Mongolia! Well, there you go. And Bangladesh. Let's have a look here. Trinidad and Tobago, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Grenada, Guyana, Santa Lucia, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, Bahamas, Barbados, Antigua, Barbuda, Suriname and St. Kitts and Nevis, assumed the nunciature in South Korea and Mongolia. In 2008, Pope Benedict XVI appointed him as nuncio in the Nordic countries, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Iceland and Norway, with office in Stockholm and subsequently on 5th January 2012 as Apostolic Nuncio to Argentina. From 12th September 2017, 11th March 24, he was nuncio in Italy, and San Marino. Cardinal Chicherig was the first non-Italian to hold the post. Created and proclaimed Cardinal by Pope Francis in the consistory of 30 September 2003 of the Deaconry of San Giuseppe in Via Trionfale. Member of the Supreme Tribunal of the Apostolic Signatura and Dicastery for the Causes of Saints. The blasphemy that's going on with these guys is just... Press. So these are the press releases. So 2018. By decree for the clerk's office registered February, blah, 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 the defendants to the date tribunal of the Vatican, blah, 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 blah. Join them with embezzlement. Alright, okay. So they're just press releases. Charges against former managers. Mario M. Busso, President of the Board of Auditors. So that's quite interesting. Okay. So press releases. Now where else are we? News. It's just news there about it. Fake news. Instructor confirms that he's not at all involved to any form of collaboration or contact relating to this website, www.fastvaticano.com, which publishes the IOI logo among other partners and mentions the Istituto in the About Us section. We renew once again the invitation to all our customers and users to check out our offices for any information relating to it. Okay. The news that Vladimir Putin and some Russian oligarchs keep part of their money in the Vatican Bank is false. as already communicated by, on the new Nunciature of Kiev website. So they've been accused of all sorts of naughty stuff, which of course they are, I would suggest. The new constitution has been promulgated in 22. Communication, Vatican Bank loses Budapest case against future of funds over Exchange Palace, published on Malta today. Okay. And then we've got media. And now we've got all these annual reports to play with. So there's some interesting stuff in these links if you want to pursue them at any point. Now, it's going to get interesting in a minute. Okay, so that's just a general introduction to this system. It pretends to be religious, pretends to be Catholic, and pretends that it's just a small operation. Right, now then, let me have a look. What have we got here? So Orban, this is Hungary, he's not in the good books with the Europeans, because Hungary's Orban says he will do away with pro-democracy and right groups receiving US aid. So he's in the naughty corner, is Orban, because he's just not playing along with this game. And of course, people are saying that he's in tune with Russia, etc., etc. But as you'll see later, wait a moment. Wait a momento. Un momento. Contacts. Now then, chaps and chapesses. Perhaps the most interesting. Who do you contact for this malarkey? Well, it's the IOR, Istituto per gli Opere di Religione Cortile Sisto V 00120 Vatican City State, to file a complaint to the Institute. Okay. Now then. Pursuant to the ASIF regulations, just before we go, let's just have a look at this ASIF, okay? It's Autorità di Supervisione e Informazione Finanziaria. Is the Supervisory and Financial Information Authority of the Vatican City-State. It is responsible for financial supervision and regulation, including anti-money laundering, AML, and counterfeiting the financing of terrorism, CFT. ASIF oversees financial institutions operating within the Vatican to ensure compliance with international financial standards. Note again, says nothing about human trafficking. Because of course that's what it's doing. That's where it gets all its wealth from. Key functions: prudential supervision, ensures the stability, integrity and transparency of financial entities. Regulatory oversight, implements financial regulations and best practices. AML CFT compliance, monitors transactions to prevent illicit financial activities. And cooperation with international authorities, collaborates with global finance regulators to maintain Vatican financial credibility. ASIF was originally established in 2010 as AIF, but in 2020 its name changed to ASIF to reflect its expanded role in financial supervision. Now, while I'm just on here, I just want to put something else up so that I can go back to it. There we go.
Here we go. Now this is just interesting because this again comes out of this institution. It says the term controlling persons. So it's talking about who's the one controlling as a person. So it's saying natural person, okay, is the controlling person. The term controlling persons means the natural persons who exercise control over an entity. What is the birth certificate? It's the evidence of the legal entity. Okay? So if you're coming in correctly, it's the natural person controlling the legal entity. As it stands, be it a judge or anybody from the civil state who's tied into this, they would be the controlling persons because you're coming in identifying as the legal title holder. The one that's liable. Yeah? You see what I'm saying? In the case of a trust, such terms mean the settler. Okay? So when we're talking trust law, the controlling person or natural person is also the settler when you're talking trust law. Okay? The trustees, the protector, if any, the beneficiaries or class of beneficiaries and any other natural person exercising ultimate effect control over the trust. And in the case of a legal arrangement other than a trust, such terms mean persons in equivalent or similar positions. So CEO and S151 and such. The term controlling persons shall be interpreted in a manner consistent with the Financial Action Task Force recommendations. Okay? So that's just one thing I just wanted to, while we were there on that. Now, complaints. Pursuant to ASIF regulations number 1-2 of 15 and number 3 of 2018, you may file a complaint or a reimbursement claim with the Institute. To file a complaint, please use the appropriate form, click here, which shall be sent using one of the following methods. Registered letter sent to blah, 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 the following address. Electronic mail sent to, delivery by hand to, upload to IRO portal. The complaint form can also be requested by contacting the Institute at the email address indicated above. Please note that in order to process the complaint, it must contain the following elements. Personal data of the user, if natural person, or the legal representative, if a legal person. So you would be the natural person representing the legal person, as it were, not the legal person, yeah? So that the user is clearly identifiable. So you need to determine who they're talking to as to how they deal with you. Precise description of the subject of the complaint, reasons for the complaint, request for resolution proposed by the user, so you're going to propose the remedy, an account number to which the complaint relates, if available, not necessarily in case of a complaint filed by a supplier, and a copy of the user's ID to be attached. Now you're going to have to be very careful there. Natural person, you would send your entry, no incorporation of the surname. Yeah? You wouldn't want to be sending your passport, would you? Because that's identifying your face, your image as the legal entity. If you haven't presented on your form when you put it in that you are the beneficiary. Now I did that on mine and they haven't put the signature, the autograph on. I have to do it myself. Any document submitted without using the official template is considered a complaint only if it contains all the elements listed above. Generic complaints. The user, in accordance with ASIF Regulation number 1/2015, may submit a complaint or claim to the Institute regarding financial activities provided. For such cases, the Institute is obliged to respond within 60 working days from the date of receipt of the complaint. If the complaint in question is deemed founded, the Institute must notify the user in writing, also specifying the actions planned to resolve the reported problem. In case the Institute deems the complaint to be unfounded, the result will be communicated in writing to the user, stating the reasons for non-acceptance. Payment services complaints. The user may also submit a complaint regarding payment services offered by the Institute and subject to ASIF regulation. So, for me to further investigate this, we're going to have to go through all these specific regulations that it's citing here to fully understand what this is. We know what it is. And if everybody's been wondering, well, where do you send it? Where do you do it? What do you do? Here's where you're going. Here is where you're going. In this case, the Institute must respond within 15 working days from the date of receipt of the complaint. So payment services is 15 days. Now then, interesting. And in the event that the Institute cannot respond within 15 working days due to causes beyond its control, an intermediate response shall be supplied to the user, explicitly stating the reasons for the delay in responding to the complaint and specifying the deadline by which the user will obtain a final response. In any case, a final response will be sent to the user within 35 working days of receipt of the complaint. If the complaint in question is deemed justified, the Institute must notify the user in writing, also specifying the actions planned to resolve the reported problem. Otherwise, if the Institute deems the complaint unfounded, the outcome will be communicated in writing to the user stating the reasons for non-acceptance. The user, in case she is not satisfied with the outcome of the complaint, or if she has not received a response within the deadline, may appeal to the Financial Supervision and Information Authority, the ASIF. For more details, the user may contact the ASIF through the contact details below or request information from the Institute. Okay, so there you go. Okay, now can you see where we're at here with this? Are you getting the gist here? All the assets are in this institution. That's your estate, your offspring's estate. The whole job is here, in here. This is where it's gone. So it doesn't matter where it used to be, this is where it now is. Now, let's have a look. So, now we're going to be looking at who's involved in all this. Who's tied to these treaties? Because they pretend, don't they, that it's just, it's US and UK versus the fucking world, man. All the world's fantastic and just the UK and the US are the evil. Well, I can tell you now that actually the UK and the US are only evil to this bank when they're functioning correctly. Because they broke away from it. The rest of you never broke away from it. Doesn't matter where you're from in the world. You've always been sucking the shit out of this system. But those English and Americans and Germans, they said, fuck off. We'll do our own thing, thank you very much, Satan. We don't want to play out with you anymore. And for that, they've been deemed the cause of all the ills of the fucking world. No, I'm not saying they haven't played a part in it, they have. But in the belief always that they were fighting this. When in fact, they've just expanded it because they were a bit stupid. I can't look at my granddad the same now, even though he's dead. You know, I just think, hey, dear grandchaps, you didn't know fucking your ass from your elbow. You didn't know your ass from your elbow, pal. So, competent authority arrangement between the competent authorities of the United States of America and the Holy See, acting also in the name and on behalf of the Vatican City-State. Okay, so they're one entity really, but they've divided themselves up. But in essence, what Holy See says is what Vatican City-State says and does. Okay, so I've said all along, the entire system, they're just instruments for the Holy See. The Holy See being the banking families that run the entire empire and always have, all right? And you can debate all day which one's at the top, but I can guarantee you it's not Orsini. Because if you look at the way that England's been played, Breakspear first, they upped and went to China. Once Pallavicini were brought into the fore and put the Tudor group on through the House Stanley. The Pallavicini Act for the Farnese. And the Farnese, if you look back at their stuff, actually, they were put into position by the Borgia. Okay, so it just goes on and on and on. And of course, my take has always been, if you can see it, it's a front. So all these Holy See families that I've presented, that other people have presented, are in it, but they're not the ultimate fucking commanders of it. The trustees for this system, you all know them, the Rothschilds. Okay? But it makes, the play they make is because, of course, the way they keep the religions divided is each one has to hate the other because each the other believes that that's blah, 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 blah. Muslims hate Jews. They hate them like unbelievable, even though they haven't realised they're operating for them. Everything they do, every bit of capital you expand for your mosque is for these people you say you hate. Same with the Christians. All these evangelicals over there in the US and across the world. You keep saying you're for Jesus, and again, you're full of shit. Everything you do, everything your mama and papa did, down there at the old church singing the old little songs, has expanded this shit for the Babylonian system. Now you can sit there and cry your eyes out and disagree, that's fine. But just know that you're a fucking infant. You're an infant and you haven't got the balls or the courage to face reality. It's that simple. You're too invested. You're too fucking invested in your own bullshit and garbage, and you're too cowardice to accept that you are actually a fucking nut job and you need to change your fucking ways. And people might say, well, it's alright for you to say. Well, I'll tell you why I'm like I am today. It's because for 33 fucking years now, which it is, I'm in this 33rd year of this journey, at every fucking point, as I expanded, before I expanded, when I realised what a dumbass I were, and gone with it, accepted it, blessed it, and let it go. So I'm not preaching what I haven't practiced. The only way you can cleanse yourself and move forward for yourself is to reckon and reason with the fact that you are a fucking idiot and that you don't want to be a fucking idiot anymore. And that's the path. That's the path I've done. And it fucking works. So I'm not calling you names and trying to make you feel shit. Well, I am making you feel shit because you need to see. But what you soon learn as you move forward, instead of hating yourself and running off into yourself to hide from yourself, which you can't fucking do, you start to realise, oh fuck, what an idiot I've been, rather than hating yourself. So the Native Americans use the coyote as the trickster. The Norse tradition uses Loki as the trickster. It's starting to see your ignorance as actually something to laugh at, instead of hating yourself, allowing this fucking shower of shit to shove guilt on you and hold you in that guilt, because they're saying the only way out of that guilt is for you to serve us and we'll relieve you from your sin. What utter fucking shit. You relieve yourself from your ignorance by recognising your ignorance. And as you move forward and you can start to laugh at yourself, like David Icke should learn that. If David Icke learned that, instead of continuing running on this shit that is run on forever that serves this, if that man learned to laugh at himself instead of hating himself, because he does know deep down that he's been pushing bullshit, he would get somewhere. Because in his heart of heart, he probably really wants to be the hero he thinks he is. You have to learn to laugh at yourself. Otherwise, you can't move forward. And if you hate yourself, the guilt purveyors have got you. And they'll fucking keep you in that guilt for whatever length of time they can use you for. Whether that's a bit of money, bit of energy, fixing the roof, fixing the buildings, fixing this, fixing that, telling tales, telling fucking tales, titty-tattle tales. Oh, they'll keep you in fucking sin, alright, because they're capitalising on it. You know what I'm saying? So, here we go. On June the 10th, 2015, the United States of America and the Holy See, acting also in the name and on behalf of the Vatican City State, signed an intergovernmental agreement, the IGA, entitled Agreement Between the United States of America and the Holy fucking See. 2015, remember. This is what, a year before King fucking Cyrus gets in. Yeah. Acting also blah 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 to improve international tax compliance and to implement FATCA. The IGI requires in particular the exchange of certain information with respect to US reportable accounts on an automatic basis. Now FATCA is a financial institution, but it's FATCA because it's in Italian. Now we might find it as we run through this because I can't remember where the fuck I've put it. So anyway, so here's your agreement with this system by the United States of America. So when Donaldo the fucking Trump says, as he says, let's have a look. He who saves his country does not violate any law. Sounds fucking great. But what fucking country are you talking about, Donaldo? Because it's not fucking America. No, King Cyrus. Fucking Babylon. Weren't you, pal? King Cyrus was the king of fucking Babylon. And now here he goes with his little oppo over there. Vlad the fucking Impaler and other shit. As Europe is sidelined, as Russia claims two sides have agreed to set up a line of communication to solve the problems in the US-Russia relationship. Two Bolshevik fucking shitbags. And Trump announces peace talks between Ukraine and Russia in Saudi fucking Arabia. Why Saudi Arabia? Because it's another fucking signature to this system. And we're going to look at that. They're all fucking in it. All of them. Apart from China. So there you go. Cyrus, the Balfour Trump Declaration, 1917-2017, Temple fucking coin. King Cyrus was the king of fucking Babylon. The country that Donaldo's speaking about is fucking Babylon. And there he is. Who's this fucking fella here? Baron fucking Trump. So Trump's going to get knocked off or feigned. Of course he won't kill him because they don't like to kill their own. He gets knocked off. Chaos is going to ensue, which is what the Antichrist game tells you. And some fucker else is going to take his place. Is it Elon the Muskrat? Or is it this Baron fella? Because he's not quite a king. He's not even a prince, but then he is because Donaldo there is of Norwegian royalty. Baron, Prince, are they playing a little game there? Because I've told you this system's going to be run by princes. Because there's only one king of the fucking world in this game, and that's Satan. So there's food for thought. What country is he talking about when he's not breaking any fucking laws? Well, yeah, not America. Let me put it to you like that. Right, so this is basically just an agreement between these two countries that basically puts the United States of America smack bang into the fucking arms of this system. Object and scope, as provided in Article 3.6 of the IGA, this arrangement establishes the procedures for the automatic exchange obligations described in Article 2 of the IGA. Like I said, I'm going to have to go into these articles to fully understand. And for the exchange of information reported under Article blah blah blah, IGA information to be exchanged pursuant to Article blah 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 includes information provided. Now, you've heard me say it before, haven't you? What is the IRS? Well, the IRS is the global tax collector for this bank, this Noahide charitable trust. It's just so that you can't see the hidden ledger. Yeah, that's why it's a charity. It's not a fucking charity, it's private. Buyer on behalf of each following non-report, blah, 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 blah. Trustee documented trust as described in section blah, 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 blah. So there we go. Let's have a look. Buyer on behalf of each of the following non-reporting HSVCS, which is all you see Vatican City State, HSVCS. Financial institution that will be treated as a deemed compliant FFI under Annex 2 of the IGA for purposes of Section 1471 of the US Internal Revenue Code. Okay, so this is where the IRS comes into play and why you can put your 1099s in, etc., etc., because it is the global system and the IRS is the tax collector for this. So this is just sponsored controlled foreign corporation, closely held investment vehicle, financial institution that would otherwise qualify as a paragraph, financial institution, blah, 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 blah. This arrangement prescribes rules and procedures as may be necessary to implement Article 5. So we need to look at these articles for next week. Article 8, this arrangement addresses other matters concerning implementation, including registration, confidentiality, and other protections, costs, consultation, and modification and publication of this arrangement. Registration of HSVCS financial institutions, competent authorities note, blah, 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 blah. Hang on. Financial institution will be treated as compliant with and not subject to withholding under Section 1471 of the US Internal Revenue Code if the reporting financial institution, blah, 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 financial institution, blah, 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 among other requirements, complies with the applicable registration requirements. So there you can see clearly it's above the IRS because providing it, blah, 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 in this treaty, it's got to abide by the... I mean, again, I'm speed doing this because it needs a lot more thorough investigation to this, to be fair, to fully understand its... but the overriding synthesis with it is that the whole fucking game is coming under this shit. And that this is what the fucking reformers saw back in the day. That this was what the plan was. To use the Vatican system to bring in this Antichrist system. Do you hear Alex Jones talk about this? Do you hear Joe Rogan talk about this? And any of the other wankers, Bang On Gino or whatever the fuck it's called. All these Tucker, fucking Farage, Boris. Do you hear any of these wankers ever speaking about the Holy See, the Vatican City State, IOR? No, you don't. Any of these fucking regulations? Do you ever hear any of them talk about this? No. Why? Because they are this. That's who they work for. This is why they've got the 25 million fucking views. Money coming out the fucking assholes. Okay? So you got exchange of information. Again, I'm going to put all these under for you. Because we all need to start to fucking study this stuff. Because this is where the key is to it. Information transformation. Data collection. Consistency. Revocation of election. Revocation of election. The HSVCS competent authority may revoke an election described in paragraph following consultation and written notice to the US competent authority. To what degree that means, is that just local? Is it just to do with these institutions? But of course, the treaties with the United States of America. Interesting. Information exchange, feedback, consultation, time of receipt, regional router, data collection tools, notification file processing, let's have a look, remediation and enforcement. Let's have a look, this being identified reporting, categories of non-compliance, maybe Ministry of Homeland Nature, exchange of information, withholding other obligations, reporting failures, failure to timely correct, other non-compliance, So it's basically, it is just a treaty and it's going through what it is they've agreed. But ultimately this thing is at the top of the fucking tree. Costs. Each competent authority intends to bear its own costs incurred in administrating the IGA. Ha ha! That means you. Because you're a resident. Okay. Now then, publication. The competent authorities intend to make this arrangement publicly available through official publication by each party within 30 days from the last date of signature of this arrangement. The competent authorities expect to set the precise date and time through consultation. For the United States Competent Authority, Douglas W. O'Donnell, who has just been repositioned in that position by guess fucking who? King fucking Cyrus. So no fucking change there then, ladies and gentlemen, in the United States of America. Okay? Commissioner at Large Business and International. Internal Revenue Service. Now, Trump's just sacked 1,500 IRS people. Are there 1,500 people who know how the IRS is supposed to fucking work? I.e. 1099s and shit, and putting in all these Zionist cunts so that they block again? I don't know. But keep your fucking eyes out for that, ladies and gentlemen, because that would be my guess. And for the Holy See Vatican City State Competent Authority, signed off by Cardinal George Pell, Cardinal Prefect for the Secretariat for the Economy, and no date. So that's that document. Now then. Okay, these. QI, it's intermediary. Okay, I forgot the fucking Q means. What does Q mean, benefactor? Just stick it up on there, lad, will you? The QI, I forgot what it means. Oh dear heck. Now, because it's a Mac and these are Excel, I couldn't put these in here where we could click on them. So we can't go as in depth as we actually wanted to because of that difference in Excel and the way that Mac works. So what was important, I copied again as a PDF so we can look at it. But these are... So what is the QI, Mew? Can you... not Mew, sorry, Mew. Benefactor, I forgot what QI stands for. Something intermediary, I know that. Right, so it's not gone through yet anyway. These qualified intermediary, thanks for that, benefactor, is what QI means. So the qualified intermediaries, as ascertained by this IOR, or operating for that system as intermediaries, it's this bunch of Johnny-come-latelys. Look, all the banks that you've ever heard of, Switzerland, Canada, Sweden, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Ireland, United Kingdom, J&E Davy, Canada. For United Kingdom, Bank of Nova Scotia. Now can you understand why they had a Canadian running Bank of England, who's now maybe being put up to take over from Trudeau? Yeah? Bank of Nova Scotia. I said to you before, I studied some stuff that was showing that a lot of this stuff, assets in these shell companies that people were finding in these one addresses, were all being sent to Canada. So Canada, through Adelphi House, was being furnished with the wealth of the empire. But that were a long time ago, and obviously I don't know where I found it. Bahamas, so Credit Suisse. Australia, Credit Suisse. United Kingdom, Credit Suisse. Spain, Credit Suisse. Singapore, Credit Suisse. Ireland, Credit Suisse. Hong Kong, Credit Suisse. Guernsey, Credit Suisse. Ireland, Credit Suisse. United Kingdom again. Bahamas, Credit Suisse. Singapore, Japan, Credit Suisse. United Kingdom, Credit Suisse International. And then you've got Japan, Aberdan Japan Limited. Canada, National Bank Trust, Peters & Co., RBC Dominion Securities, Pictet Canada. Belgium, Euroclear Bank. Canada, Canada Trust Company. Luxembourg, Bank Pictet and Sy. United Kingdom, Bank Pictet and Sy. I've never heard of these places. Monaco, again, same. Luxembourg, Italy. France, same. Bank Pictet. And then you've got Switzerland, you've got Interest Banking, Credit Mutual Dealer Vallas SA, Sparkasse Sens, Cassier, blah, blah, blah. Valiant Bank, Bernal Illand Bank, Spar and Lee Cass, BBO, BB Sannen Bank, Bank Eke, all these banks that are qualified intermediaries working on behalf of this ultimate uber global World Bank. Yeah, so you can see the World Bank now, the IMF, they're just fronts. Now we can see the real guts of what it is they're doing with all our money, what it is they're doing with all our assets, what it is they're doing with all the land, what it is they're doing with your estate. It's all going into this. So, you know, this, oh, it's them, it's this, it's that country, forget it. They're all operating as intermediaries for this massive gig. This just goes on and on. Germany, Deutsche Wertpapier Service Bank, Bayerisch Landsbank, Kurin Private Bank, Switzerland, DZ Private Bank, Germany, DZ Bank AG, Deutsche Central Genossenschaftsbank, Japan, Asset Management, Bermuda, Clarion, Germany, Hamburger Sparkasse. I mean, I've never even heard of half of these banks. Look at it. It's massive. On and on. And this sheet is huge. Hong Kong, Bank J. Safra. Netherlands, Cooperative Rabobank. Jersey, Standard Bank Jersey. Rowan Dartington, United Kingdom. Edmond de Rothschild service in Belgium, Portugal, Spain and Luxembourg. Nico Bank, Luxembourg, France, Lazard, Credit Lyonnais, SA. SA, is that South Africa? Monaco, Credit Lyonnais again. Singapore, JP Morgan Chase. Look at the state of it. United Kingdom, Waverton Investment Management, Brewin Dolphin. Jersey, AMB AMRO, Isle of Man, Canaccord Genuity Wealth International, Cayman Islands, Butterfield Bank, Barclays Investment Solutions, United Kingdom, France. What have I missed? Need to show the amendments only see Vatican to show the QR. I don't think I've found it. I think I've done something wrong. I'll have a look. Bear with me. Credit Suisse UK, Monaco. Look at the state. It just goes on. Slovakia, Slovenia, BKS, Croatia, BKS. Japan, Hitachi, Daiwa. Isn't that bloody fishing? Japan, DWS, Custody Bank of Japan, Bank of Montreal, Canada, and Germany, and United Kingdom, Bank of Montreal again. Edward Jones, Bank of Nova Scotia Trust Company. So then we've got BNP Paribas. Now I've come across that actually, that's quite a monster. France, United Kingdom, Switzerland, Spain, Singapore, Poland, Netherlands, Monaco, Luxembourg, Jersey, Italy, Ireland, Hong Kong, Greece, Germany, Belgium, Australia, QDD branch, Hong Kong and Singapore, France, Netherlands, Germany. And that's part of BNP Paribas. In fact, that Paribas, if you remember when we did that live stream with the Holy See families and the mafia connections, there were one branch of the Holy See family that were completely in control of that Paribas. Do you remember? So this QDD branch is Paribas. It's massive. Luxembourg, France, United Kingdom, again, QDD branch. Japan, QI. Franklin Templeton. Franklin Templeton, that's a Delphi house. If you go to the John Adams Street gang on the website, Franklin Templeton came out of a Delphi house, home of the Hanoverians. Goldman Sachs in Japan. QI branch Danske Bank in United Kingdom. Poland, QI branch. Lithuania, QI branch. Latvia, QI branch. Ireland, Germany, Finland, Estonia. Japan, Guernsey, United Kingdom. United Arab Emirates, again. This is it's involved in the game. It's got a qualified intermediary. Jersey, Japan, Hong Kong. Singapore, United Arab Emirates again, Singapore, Switzerland, Guernsey, Luxembourg, Monaco, Austria, Switzerland, Germany, and on and on. Taiwan, QI branch. Yeah, it's all Bahamas, Guernsey, Spain, Hong Kong. What else have we got? Any different ones here? Bermuda, Sweden. All this QI, look at the size of this QI, it's massive. It's flaming out. QI branch is massive. Deutsche Bank as QDD in United Kingdom. Finland even, yeah, QI branch. It goes on and on and on. It's going to take us too long to get right down to the bottom, but I'll give it advice. But I've got to put this obviously underneath. Yeah, even computers struggling to show it. Here we go. So we'll go down to the bottom. If we go down to the bottom and then we can move up, computers making a right racket. So it must be taking some effort putting this together. But I've put it in the website, so I'll put the link underneath. Mexico. Even Mexico. Austria. Taiwan again, President Securities Corporation. This is QI. Cyprus. What else have we got here? Israel. Altshuler, Shaham Trade. Look, they're all in it, even Israel. Cayman Islands, Cyprus again. South Africa, Finalto. Saudi Arabia, Tamara Capital, look. Malta, Mauritius, Panama. So they're talking about he's taking over Panama Canal. It's ordained by this bank. Nothing in this politics that's happening today is any politician doing something they want to do on their own bat for the interests of the nation that they're doing it. It's for this. A country called the Vatican City State. That's the country that Donald Trump says when you're doing it for the country, you're not breaking any fucking law. See it, people. This is what they're doing. Hong Kong, Japan, Korea, Taiwan again, Poland, Cyprus, Greece, Mexico again, Panama. Right, so there you go. You can see they're all in it. United Arab Emirates, there's nothing. The only thing that's not mentioned in here is China. But that's deliberate because, of course, the LRA are trying to divide the world in two if we go with the prophecies of Mother Shipton. Okay? So, as you can see, it's massive. These are all qualified intermediaries for all these nations. Israel, again, 1-0 digital bank. And you think Israel is the be-all and end-all? No. It's just another aspect of this. It's the fire starter. Italy, Israel again, Blink Fintech. I've got reports up on about that particular bunch. They're all in it, apart from China and Russia. But Russia is only slightly separate. But this is deliberate. It's to divide the world in two. Now this is the United Kingdom. Okay, now look at this. So the QI branch, QDD branch, QI name, and then the last two digits of the QI EIN. So they have an EIN, these qualified intermediaries. They have a GIIN number. And then they have a QDD status. Now, that's just the last digit. You can find that, obviously, by doing a bit of searching, which is what we're going to be doing. But this is huge. This is just UK. HSBC. Look at them all. Barrett and Cook, Webble, Stonehenge Fleming, Finalto, Lightyear, Anand Europe, Logic Investments, FNZ, Digital Moneybox, Tickmill, Tavera, Pillin, StoneX, IG Trading, Revolt, CMC, Oberon, Sanlam, Atomos. You'll find that the two brothers, the ISIS brothers, will be in this somewhere. They'll have some, they'll be part of this, but what trading name it will be, I don't know. Look at the size of it. This is just UK. These are all the qualified intermediaries that are operating as intermediaries between the Holy See and the UK corporation. Goldman Sachs, HSBC, JP Morgan, Bedrock, Citigroup, Regent's Park, IG, National Bank of Canada, eToro Trading, Hargreaves Lansdowne, Abib Bank Zurich, Global Prime, McInroy, Linear Alliance, Multrees, IMWS, Winterflood, Sparcast, Dinosaur, Merchant Bank, National Westminster. Now look at that. You've got NatWest Markets PLC and National Westminster Bank PLC. So even though we know NatWest is short for National Westminster, they've actually divided it up into two different companies. You know, Saxo Capital, Peel Hunt, IG, Standard, AK, DB, Halifax Share Dealing Limited, Merrill Lynch, Lombard, Citibank, Northern Trust, CBH, Moultrie Investor, James Ambro, Bank. I'm not seeing Nationwide in here though, that's interesting. I wonder if it's trying to get to that point. Underwriters at Lloyds, RBC, James Braley and Sons, Goldman Sachs again, Jarvis, Barclays, Capital Securities, Governor and Company, AG Bell, HSBC, Union Banker, Standard Chartered. Everything is tied into the City Asset Management. Royal Bank of Scotland, which is owned by the government, which means it's yours. Even the government's Walker Crisp Investment. You might want to think about that before you buy the fucking crisps. Ruffer, Rathbones Investment, Barclays Bank, Evelyn Partners, EFG, Euroclear, Citibank, Paribas again, here look. It's ridiculous. Now then, let's we got here. So the Qualified Intermediary QI program administers agreements between foreign entities or foreign branches of certain US entities and the IRS regarding tax withholding and reporting requirements for certain US source income. Okay, so they're all agreements, this QI intermediary, with the IRS. Attachment for the Holy See and the Vatican City State. QI is subject to the following laws and regulations of the Holy See and Vatican City State governing the requirements of QI to obtain documentation confirming identities of QI's account holders. QI represents the laws identified above are enforced by the following enforcement bodies, and QI shall provide the IRS with an English translation of any reports or other documentation issued by these enforcement bodies that are relevant to the QI's functions as a qualified intermediary, supervisory and financial information authority. So that's the SFRA. QI represents that the following penalties apply to failure to obtain, maintain, blah, blah, blah. So under item 1, a written warning with a separate letter or within an audit report. An order to comply with specific instructions, including an order to the natural or legal person to refrain from carrying out the behaviour in question and to abstain from repeating it, with fines in case of full or partial non-compliance. In order to make regular reports on the measures adopted by the sanctioned subject. A fine of up to 5 million for natural persons and up to 10% of the gross annual income of the preceding financial year for legal persons. The fine must be at least equal to double the amount of the profit made through the violation, if this amount can be calculated, or at least equal to euro 1 million. So this bank's presenting on its public ledger just a couple of billion quid here and there, and it's fucking fining people these silly amounts. This is in the private. It's got to be. Permanent or temporary interdiction of natural persons from carrying out activities in the economic, commercial or professional sectors. Removal or limitation of the powers of members of the management or the senior management or persons with analogous functions. IOC 1441 qualified intermediary ETSEC regulates the withholding of income taxes from payments of US source income made to a non-US person. Generally, the US payer must verify the tax identification number, the TIN, of its payees and withhold 30% of this payment if a TIN is not presented. A 1441 qualified intermediary is generally a foreign bank or other foreign financial institution that signs an agreement with the Internal Revenue Services. Under the agreement, the QI maintains its own records of the US or foreign status of the beneficial owners of the payments and may undertake responsibility for income reporting and tax withholding. The QI agreement is valid for 6 years, and the QI entity is subject to the IRS or external audit periodically to confirm compliance with the agreement terms. QI regime was later supplemented by foreign account reporting requirements under the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. Now, that tells you that every single fucking bank out there is operating for this system as a QI. So when your banks are closing, it's on at the behest of this. When your banks are saying you can't have your fucking money, it's at the behest of this. Because, of course, you're depositing your money with them and crediting them with it. So it says, QI shall use the following specific documentary evidence and also specific documentation added by an amendment to this item 4 as agreed to by the IRS to comply with Section 5 of this agreement, provided that the following specific documentary evidence satisfy the requirements of the laws and regulations identified in item 1 above. In the case of a foreign person, QI may instead use a Form W8 in accordance with Section 5 of this agreement. QI may request an amendment to this item 4. For natural persons, identity card, passport, ordinary service or diplomatic or equivalent identification card issued by a public entity, i.e. driving licence and identification card specific to the issuing country. So a natural person, it's saying, is also can be seen and deemed off a driving licence, is that right? Again, that needs a little bit more investigation. For legal entities, which is what we get off the birth certificate, but then most driving licences and passports are all based on the birth certificate. So that's not, it's a bit ambiguous for me. I'm not sure I understand exactly but then the settlor, it has to be. But then on my form it says clearly beneficiary, so I've made it clear I'm not the legal entity, I think. Interesting. A copy of this, for legal entities, copy of the certificate of incorporation, which of course is the birth certificate. Articles of association, trust agreement, deed, indenture, or other constating documents, or documents certifying canonical recognition issued by competent ecclesiastical authorities in compliance with canon law. So that would be your baptism certificate, I would think. Verified with Pontifical Yearbook or the list of legal persons resident in the Vatican City-State kept by the Vatican City-State Government. Well, all legal persons now, after 2023, are resident, you could say, or in the custody of the Vatican City-State. So again, this needs a little bit more research. It's QI shall follow the procedures set forth below, and also any procedures added by an amendment to this item as agreed to by the IRS to confirm the identity of account holders that do not open accounts in person or who provide new documentation for existing accounts other than in person. In the case of foreign person, QI may instead use the Form W8 in accordance with Section 5 of this agreement. QI may request an amendment to this item 5. Okay, so natural person, human being with legal rights and responsibilities. A natural person can own property, enter contracts and be held accountable under the law. Example, John Doe, an individual taxpayer. Legal person, entity such as corporation or organisation has legal rights and obligations similar to a natural person. A legal person can enter contracts, sue or be sued, and owns assets. Example A. I don't know. There's going to be more. I think more is needed on that. It's a bit ambiguous that, to be honest. I don't fully understand that in truth. Convention between the government of the United States of America and the government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland for the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income and on capital gains. Please note that the text of this convention starts 2/3 of the way down this page. The page layout of this file reflects the layout of the original signed treaty document. This document is designed to print on 8x14 legal size or A4 paper. So it's a similar gig, but this is between the United States and the government of the United Kingdom, specifically why the IRS is now important on Blighty, especially now that the Land Act has ended. The sector specifically provided in a convention applicable only to persons who are residents of one or both of the contracting states. This convention shall not restrict in any manner any benefit here, now or hereafter, accorded. So again, this is just, as I've gone through all this, these are the points that we've picked up that are interesting. Income tax, yep. General definitions. Term companies, anybody, corporate or entity that is registered, so it's just definitions here. Contracting. Laws of the United Kingdom concern the continental shelf as an area with which the rights of the United Kingdom with respect to the seabed and subsoil and the natural resources may be exercised. Okay. Interesting. So that's another page 7. Resident of a contracting state means for the purpose of this convention any person who under the laws of the state is liable to tax therein by reason of his domicile, residence, citizenship, place of management, place of incorporation, or any other criterion of a similar nature. This term, however, does not include any person who is liable to tax in that state in respect only of income from sources in that state or of profits attributable to a permanent establishment in that state. An individual who is blah 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 blah. Permanent. So this basically is a treaty between US and UK, so that you get an idea of why this IRS game is so important and works, because it's real. So who are the signing parties here? Let's have a look. Oh, what the hell have I just done? Eh? Oh my god. There we go. Let me just try that again. Something here that's at all. Here we go. Article 11. Interest. Interest arising in a contracting state beneficially owned by a resident of the other contracting state shall be taxable only in that other state. The term interest is used in this article means income from debt claims of every kind, whether or not secured by mortgage, and whether or not carrying a right to participate in the debtor's profits, and in particular income from government securities and income from bonds or debentures, including premiums or prices attached to such securities, bonds or debentures, and all other income that is subjected to the same taxation treatment as income. So, securities, that's your court bonds. So, this is what they class as they having their interest in. When in fact we have an interest in this too. We have to just declare it. From money lent by the taxation law of the contracting state in which the income arises. Income dealt with in Article 10, dividends of this convention and penalty charges for late payments shall not be regarded as interest for purposes of this article. The provisions of paragraph 1 of this article shall not apply if the beneficial owner of the interest, being a resident of a contracting state, carries on business in the other contracting state, in which the interest arises through a permanent establishment situated therein, and the interest is attributable to such permanent establishment. In such case, the provisions of Article 7, business profits of this convention, shall apply. Where by reason of special relationship between the payer and the beneficial owner of both, and so the person, the amount of interest exceeds for blah 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 blah. So that's definitely worth a look, because interest is what we're all talking about. We have an interest in it, they have an interest in it, and then they've got royalties arising from contract state beneficially owned by a resident of other contract state shall be taxable. Let me just see who signed this off. So, in witness hereof, the undersigned being duly authorised thereto by respective governments have signed this convention, done at London in duplicate this 24th day of July 2001. For the government of the United States of America, Paul somebody, and look at this fucking Bolshevik bastard. For the government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, Gordon, the Bolshevik bitch Brown. Now then, the super communist. Now, what was the only force on this planet that opposed Bolshevism? That would be the Vatican, when it was the church. So, Gordon Brown, the Bolshevik, his ultimate enemy, if they're pretending that the Vatican is still the church, signed up with the church, showing you clearly that the church, as Malachi Martin made clear, has absolutely no bearing whatsoever as an intermediary between the heavenly frequencies and man. It's 100% in the hands of the antagonist. Now, the Vatican Bank, IOR, the Organisation of Islamic Cooperation. Told you the Mossa Bank, Palavicini are involved. The Vatican Bank is a financial institution that serves the Vatican City Roman Catholic Church. It manages assets and finances for religious, charitable and other Vatican-related purposes. It is primarily focused on the financial needs of the Vatican, religious entities and charitable organisations. The Organisation of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, is a political and economic intergovernmental organisation that represents 57 member countries, most of which are Muslim-majority nations. The OIC's primary mission is to promote Islamic solidarity, address global Muslim concerns and ensure cooperation in various domains such as politics, human rights, economic development and religion. Well, they've obviously not read the fucking Quran. Alright? So, if you want to know where all this fucking Islamic immigration is coming from, it's because they're fucking all part of the empire. They're working for the empire. They are the fucking empire. Wherever they go. And it's just a control system that these bastards are using. And if you've read the Quran, there's no fucking human rights in it. And economic development means take it over by deception. Okay? So they're promoting Islamic solidarity against all non-Muslims. And the Muslims, because they've not read the fucking Quran and have no idea what the fucking book says and what it doesn't say, because they listen to these dicks called imams who are a part of this system and have all agreed to this new world order in Kazakhstan, the new base. City of London moving to Kazakhstan. They've all agreed this. All your imams, all your rabbis, all your clergy. All of them. And they've built it. Satanic system if ever there were one. There it is. Chatham House. That's Tavistock. There you go. Look. All it's there for you to see. And that just shows how fucking interested people are. One person has reacted with it. And then people wonder why the world's fucked. Well, now you know. Where am I? In Islam, there is no direct equivalent to the Holy See and the Lateran Treaty of 1929, which established Vatican City as an independent sovereign state and recognised the Pope's authority. However, there are some historical and modern parallels in Islamic governance and religious authority. The Caliphate, Caliphate I. Historically, the Caliphate served as both religious and political authority for Muslims, similar to the role of the Pope and the Vatican. The Caliph was seen as a successor to the Prophet Muhammad and was responsible for upholding Islamic law, or Sharia, and governance. Well, I've discussed this. When you study the Quran and then look at the Sharia does not reference and represent the Quran at all. For a start, when you read the Quran and it's talking about women covering up their hair, he's clearly talking about the fucking pubic hair. That's what he's speaking about. He's not talking about their head. He's talking about covering up the pubic hair. And if Muslims would read the fucking Quran, they'd see this. But they don't. They listen to these dicks called imams, who, from being that big, got it battered into them with fucking sticks. I've seen it with my own eyes when I used to do the roofs. When the mosques weren't so mighty, they were just in any little cubbyhole they could get them in. Yeah. So, however, there are some historical and modern parallels, blah, 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 blah. The Caliph was seen, yeah, I've seen that, done that, sorry. The last recognised caliphate was the Ottoman Caliphate, created by Genghis Khan and facilitated as a takeover by the Venetians when they wrecked Byzantium. The Venetians, who were in the pocket of the Mongol horde under Genghis Khan's offspring. That's history for you, folks, and not the history you'll get at school or from your so-called intelligentsia, your academics. They're not academics, they're acca-copiers or acca-programmers. In Sunni Islam, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Egypt, is considered one of the most authoritative figures in Islamic scholarship and religious guidance, similar to the Pope in some respects. However, he does not have political sovereignty like the Pope does over the Vatican City. Mecca and Medina. Two holy cities in Islam, Mecca and Medina, are under Saudi control, but are not an independent religious state like the Vatican. The custodian of the two holy mosques, a title held by the Saudi king, gives him a unique religious role, though it is not equivalent to a papal authority. Iran and the supreme leader. In Shia Islam, Iran's supreme leader has significant religious and political power, somewhat resembling the Vatican's governance, but Iran is a nation-state, not a city-state. Yes, but the Shia will only accept imams who are directly related to the bloodline of Muhammad, where in Sunni Islam, any man and his cat can be an imam. which is why they've expanded Sunni Islam and kept Shia Islam held back. They're completely different in what they accept around the Quran, and specifically some of the companions of Muhammad. They don't hold them as a value, and so therefore don't accept what parts of Islam that's relative to those persons. They don't accept it. There's the division. Among other divisions, there's quite a few divisions between the two, but those are the two main points of contention. The OIC, which consists of 57 Muslim-majority countries, is a collective representation of the Islamic world, but does not function as an independent religious political entity like the Vatican. Could there be a Muslim Vatican? Well, there fucking is one. It's tied into this. Can't you see? The banks, the mosques are banks, and all they're doing is expanding the asset base. That's all they do. Muslims think they're expanding this. No, you're not. It's just banks. And this is the ultimate bank. Historically, some scholars propose that the caliphate should be revived as an independent city-state with religious sovereignty similar to the Vatican. The closest real-world example of this was the Ottoman Caliphate, where the caliph was both a religious and political leader. While Islam does not have a single religious political entity like the OIC, various institutions and figures fulfill similar roles in different ways. Yes, and they've all made this agreement in Kazakhstan. Islam does not have a single religious political entity, but various institutions... Here's a breakdown of some of key religious and political authorities in the Islamic world that serve comparable functions. The Caliphate, Khalifa, historical parallel to the Holy See. The Grand Imam, the custodian of the two holy mosques, the supreme leader of Iran, the Organisation of Islamic Cooperation, a collective Muslim representation, the OIC, the Grand Mufti in different countries, and key differences between Islamic and Catholic religious authority feature Vatican Holy See, Islamic world. Central authority, Pope, decentralised, no single leader. Vatican City, sovereign state, no Islamic equivalent. Pope as final authority, multiple scholars, imams and leaders. OIC recognises the diplomatic entity. OIC represents Muslim countries but no single religious entity. Conclusion, a decentralised model. Unlike the Catholic Church, Islam has a decentralised religious structure. While different figures and institutions hold influence, no single leader or entity governs all Muslims like the Pope does for Catholics. Specific leader institutions explore further. Grand Imam, blah, blah, blah. So the Grand Imam, his role in issuing fatwas and shaping Islamic education and influences Sunni Muslims. So there's a power position. Obviously, the Grand Imam, he's operating for this bank because he's in charge of education and influencing the Sunnis and issuing the fatwas. The supreme leader of Iran, how the position combines religious and political authority, influence not just Iran but Shia Muslims globally. But very few Shia Muslims move out of Iran. I did a video a few years ago about that very fact and quite a bit of history about it when I were attacking that shithead, what's he called? Oh God, I can't even remember his name. That Scottish pillock. What a great orator and rhetoricist. Why can't I think of his name? Everybody loves him. I call him Lawrence of Bradford. I can't think of his name, I might do. So the custodian of the two holy mosques, the Saudi king's role in overseeing Mecca and Medina, and how that shapes religious influence. Well, Saudis are in this up to their neck. The Organisation of Islamic Cooperation, how it functions as a collective voice for Muslims in global politics. Grand Muftis of various countries, now national level religious authorities, issue legal rulings and guide religious affairs in their respective nations. Here's a detailed breakdown of each major Islamic religious institution and leadership position, comparing the roles, influence and historical significance. Grand Imam of Al-Azhar. Grand Imam is one of the highest authorities of Sunni Islam. Universities in Egypt holds the most respected Islamic institutions. Religious authority issues fatwas. Islamic legal rulings on major religious and social issues. So he's in charge of the Sharia being off the Quran. So he's got you all as kafir. Education and scholarship, shaping Islamic thought. diplomatic role, engages in interfaith dialogues and represents Sunni Islam in global religious discussions. So there's your man, straight away, Palavicini, running him. Global reach influence extends beyond Egypt as Al-Azhar trained scholars serve in many countries. So Muslims, you need to get a grip here. You're being shafted like everybody else. But it doesn't have political sovereignty. I mean, we don't need to go through all that, but there's basically an insight into how Islam acts and plays into this system. So, I mean, it's long. There's tons of information there. And remember, this is coming out of the Vatican Bank, the ultimate bank. It's not me saying it, it's not pie in the sky. So now this is interesting. Found at sea, questions arose about the basis in which payments in euros and sterling to the public side are not desired or not required from an accounting perspective. Well, I mean, that makes sense because you can't discharge a debt with a debt instrument. It's impossible. It can't be done. The background to this is that the accounts must be balanced every day. So again, with 2 hours on, we're not going to go, but I'm going to put these down and we're going to go through, expand on this again. But you've got all this stuff found at sea, a legal loophole. Phrase found at sea refers to the legal concept of bona vacantia, ownerless property. Under maritime law, lost or abandoned goods found at sea can be claimed by those who recover them. By waiting 3 years, the entity essentially declares the payment as unclaimed and legally takes possession of it. And that's why you can only claim for 3 years with the IRS. Yeah? Because that's the point at which they're declared unclaimed and somebody nicks it. So you can't have access to it. Offshore transfer and theft of labour. Once these funds are officially classified as unclaimed, they are moved to offshore accounts in the South Pacific, beyond the jurisdiction of the original country. These offshore accounts often belong to private banks, multinational corporations or government-linked entities. So you're all crying your eyes out about these apostle billionaires and why they all leave that. It's just fronting. It's the banks that are doing it. They're nicking on governments. Governments and banks are stealing your estate's value and sticking them in offshore accounts. By doing this, they remove the money from public circulation. Okay? That's why you have no money. That's why you have no services. That's why you're paying more and more and more and more and more and more. Because they're taking it out of the public system. And as they do that, you have to die. Because you're costing them money that they haven't got. Kill the creditor, no one the wiser. And they prevent it from being used for social and public benefits. Effectively, they steal the value of people's labour since these payments were easily made by individuals or businesses who work for that money, expecting it to be used for public services. This process allows powerful entities to manipulate financial rules to their advantage. So this is why governments can't stop offshore banking and tax evasion, or not tax evasion, but tax avoidance. They can't stop it because it's way above government. This is banks. This is the ultimate system of the bigger Recoupment Act and the concept of found at sea. Now, this is the act I was trying to find. I couldn't find that actual act, but I did find one in relation to what I said before, how they recoup money off your trafficking your offspring between the schools, getting them on as medical patients, etc. So after a 3-year period, this institution invokes a legal provision, Recoupment Act, that allows it to reclaim unallocated or unclaimed funds. This process mirrors the legal concept of bona vacantia, ownerless property, similar to maritime law, where abandoned goods found at sea can be claimed by those who recover them. Essentially, by leaving the funds untouched for a legally defined period, the institution can claim ownership under financial regulations designed to deal with lost or abandoned funds, offshore transfers and the theft of labour. Once the institution takes full control of the funds, the money is transferred to offshore accounts, often in jurisdiction with favourable financial secrecy laws, such as those in the South Pacific and Switzerland. Okay? Switzerland has just got good secret laws. So has this country, but they're shifting it all. These offshore accounts allow institutions to shield the funds from scrutiny, preventing the original paying or regulatory authorities from easily tracking them. This process is described as stealing the value of labour because individuals or businesses initially work to earn that money. Okay? So it's a systematic financial manipulation. That's what this bank is. Financial manipulation by deception and robbery on your ignorance of the facts. But now we're at a point where we can see that they're blocking. National Security Act 2003, all these are to stop you from claiming what's yours and stopping this. So every time you pay someone with money, HMRC's in it. When can you use your RSX and payment related tax? I think what we'll do, how to claim ownership in the UK. Public payments in euros. UK laws on unclaimed funds. It's all here. You know, and what's been a mystery to you doesn't need to be. It's all in these documents. And this is an interesting one. Pope Francis appointed a new papal nuncio for the United Kingdom. So this is your guy. If you want to communicate about this, this is your guy in the United Kingdom. And this is April 14, 23. So the apostolic nuncio, president of the Bishops' Conference of Scotland, said, I offer one welcome to... See, they fucking all know what's going on. Pretending to be fucking holy and spiritual. They're fucking bankers with frocks on. Bankers with frocks on and collars, dog collars. There's no spiritual in them. Oh, they're praying to fucking Satan. Mammon. And it's about time anybody out there that's still holding on to this Vatican as some kind of holy gig. You need to get a grip, folks. And Malachi Martin told you. He told you. And there's another dog. We'll continue this next week. And there's where I said at the beginning he instructed all the entities, which means... Now this is Baron Trump. Again, what is going on here? Because they're gonna feign a death like they did with JFK or Trump. Which is outpouring of, oh, look what he's doing, and then all these apostles. Remember, King Trump, if they're going proper, he was snotted by a Scythian queen, Tomarin. After Cyrus, the arsehole, nicked his son, gave his orders, she said, fuck off, he killed her son. She said, you'll get your fill of blood, and killed him. She snotted him. So he was killed by a woman, a queen. A white Scythian queen. With King Cyrus. I wonder if they're going to play that same game out in this fantasy that they've got going today. So that's basically, that is the system. That's what's happening. It's how it's happening. It's where all your estates are going. It's where all your offshore shit's going on. It's not billionaires. It's banks. It's institutions. It's governments. It's anybody that's claiming your unclaimed assets off your estate after 3 years. That's who it is. And that's why governments can't change a damn thing. Because in the pecking order, they're nothing. All them QIs were banks. Not governments. Banks. There's where your power is. Governments are they're just there to give you the impression that you've still got your system in place and to implement the will of the banks. So when they bring a bill up in Parliament, it's the banks that have issued that bill. And it's the banks that will give it the yea or nay. So no politicians are coming up with banks. No think tanks are coming up with these bills or civil servants. It's the banks. Now the civil servants might look to play a game where they're going to satisfy the bankers. Like, oh, look what we've thought of. Look at this scam. Can't we get this to you? Do you agree with it? Great, we'll form it into a bill. Let's slap it through Parliament and get the fucking retards to go, yay, because they don't know their ass and elbow. They're just happy to take the 94 grand a year, plus expenses. Because all they're doing for that, basically telling you a lot of fucking lies and you thinking that they're working for you. So to be continued. But there it is, Holy See families, bankers, Venetians, all the nations of the fucking world are involved in it, except China. But it is. It's just not in the public. As Shipton said, the yellow race, and it's not the Chinese, it's the Mongols, Genghis Khan's clans, who are trying to divide the world in two. And they're doing that through the Vatican. Because that's been completely taken over. And it has no reference or bearing in any way, shape or form as an intermediary between your Christian heavenly angels and forces and frequencies and morals. It's in tune fully 100% with the God of the Talmud. Or Mammon. Or Satan. Iblis. Whatever you want to call it. And they're all in it. Islam. All of them. Everything is in it. Saudi's in it. Russia has only been partly removed from it. It's still in it. Ukraine's still in it. And that's been the biggest money laundering, trafficking, weapons sales, drugs trafficking going for the last couple of years. Remember that complaints department? Yeah? So, I mean, have I got time to go through all these? Or have you've been listening, which is good, that's good. Hit the like, says benefactor, yeah. Cause gives it thumbs up, yeah. Now evening cause, Martin Taylor, Sean and all local government act 1881, 1888, chapter 41, 51, 52. Vict part, V supplemental 79, incorporation of county council. Thanks for that, Martin. All duties and liabilities of the inhabitants of the county shall become the duties and liabilities of the council of such county. Exactly. And that's exactly what I've used in this court case to rebut the claim. That's all. That's just about the claim. Not being repealed and thus still in effect. Absolutely. Which is why they're not going anywhere fucking near it. I think they've got an agreement with the judge that all they're going to focus to is this notification of a liability order. Because he's pretending that he's got case law, we don't have to show you the actual liability order. Well, fuck you and the horse you fucking rode in on, some pal. Because you fucking will. You fucking will. That conditional acceptance is binding. You're in default. You've accepted it. You've made the fucking statements that are in it. End of fucking story. And you owe a fucking lot of fucking promissory notes. Where are we? Suspended of the treaty is Russia, Belarus and Hungary. Okay? Thanks, benefactor. Vatican Bank, Iowa. Yeah. None should no, because they protect the system. Yes, they do. Well, people believe the Nasira Gezira is being implemented. It is, but it's Nasira Gezira. Well, it's all part of the gig. They're just trying to take your role of trustees for your estate. Being sent offshore again, destination lost to sea forever, yep. Administration head office will bank anything on Iceland. I saw Iceland in there, yes, I did. Ulick, Iceland were in there. Well, double check. Divide into two bricks, absolutely. Banksters, yep. I would urge caution with the natural person. I think all persons equal under law and puts you back in the personage cage. But it does say in there, a settler will be seen in trust law, the natural person will be seen as the settler. I understand what you're saying, and again, it needs more investigation. I haven't put us forward as any person whatsoever in anything that I do, but I am looking to look at the value of that. We're nothing to them but digits, absolutely. We never claim the interest, the banks claim it after 3 years found at sea. Yeah, all persons being the game. Yeah, we're nothing to them but digits. Brilliant stuff, Sean, says Jerry. Excellent presentation. Thanks, Sean. And fair play to you also. Benefactor. Yeah, well done, Benefactor. The guy's done a lot of fucking work. Thank you, but we're all working together. Sean is the best to present the stuff. I must admit, Benefactor, it's taken me a long time for the penny to drop, but now I can see clearly. Thanks to all the work you've put in. Nice one for that. The Big Black says Mew, life claim. The deceased estate is the afterbirth. The older serves the younger. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. Probably not the most entertaining live stream, but as far as data goes, probably one of the most important. And of course, You can watch this back at your leisure, or indeed you can look at these documents as I put them under the live stream after. But remember this. If you want to know who's a shill out there, and that's all your big name tosses, are they talking about Noahide? Are they talking about the OIC? Are they talking about all the treaties that have been made by the banks? Are they talking about Kazakhstan? If they're not, it's because they're working for this very system. And on that note, have a great week, and I'll sit there till
electronic